there we go.
Okay. Does anyone have any announcements?
Just a question for Rachel. Did you get my email about that talk?
It was yesterday, solid no.
Okay. It was either yesterday or the day before. I think it was yesterday morning.
It was. I was in midterm mode.
Okay.
But I have received it now, and I will read it in a hot minute.
Thank you.
Let me just. Okay. I believe we do have someone new on the call. You'd like to introduce yourself? Maybe not.
Well, I didn't say anything last week, but hi, I'm Sean. I'm in Colorado. And I think I've been talking to Gary here, and I think I might be getting an early grape.
Yeah, you're right, Sean. You're one of the 3 early adopters I had on the list. Thanks.
Cool. So excited to get
Good
something.
morning, Sean.
Okay. And anything to add to the agenda after we talk about the grape? All right, let's get started. I'm going to assume John's online. You have the floor.
Okay, can I share my screen?
Absolutely.
Got a few grapes in process.
Yay.
The response for the case request has been absolutely perfect. I got exactly pretty much the right number with a few spares. And as you can tell, I like mixing up the colors. So that's in good shape. In the process now of trying to finalize the distribution. I'm still fighting for the second week with the hard drive or the solid state drive issue. They're supposed to come in tomorrow. The first 3 came in, they work, but I've seen an issue with the one controller that I'm not happy about. But the ones I've ordered, I think will work fine because I'm using a controller that I don't know works. It's the StarTech one that we used on a previous. Anyway, that's in process. All these still have to have power put together. The board sets have been tested, but as a system, they have not. So that's what my task is for this coming week. Once the weekend proves that the drives that I've ordered are working, and then we'll start ordering drives en masse. And the bigger announcement is this is a display of a live grape. This is up on the roof of our Glendon building here at Case Western. This is on a mag loop antenna, and it's actively receiving WWV on 5, 10, and 15 megahertz. This is the current amplitude. This is the peak it's seen. And unfortunately, I restarted this an hour ago because I had to update the, anyways, it was a software update I had to do here. So the maximum 24-hour peak was a lot larger here. Because if you hit the control P, you can see I can toggle between the 1-hour peak and the 24-hour peak, which will be very helpful in setting the RF gain, because these boards have an RF gain hardware setting of 1, 2.54, or 10. And what I'm struggling with now is how do I want to ship them? I originally was going to ship them all at 10, and even here with the mag loop, I was getting an overload on 5 megahertz, so I've kicked it back to 4. The new display, which Kung is working on, will show in this area right here what the RF gain is. And on top here, right below the firmware, above the firmware versions, we're going to insert what the node number is. So all the information is available, but you can see the frequency it's decoding, max and mins on that. Signal level, max and mins on that. And if you have a magnetometer hooked up, it'll show the X, Y, and Z in microteslas of the magnetometer setting. Or reading, I'm sorry. At my house, the total vector is about 53 microteslas, and it's pointing down on the ground. So one of the axes is negative. Of course, this unit is rotated instead of being flat. It's rotated in the, I guess that would be the x-axis. So Z becomes X and Y becomes Z and all that kind of fun stuff. So that's pretty much what we're going to be going with for what's running. This is actively uploading the day's data files to the WWV ARC server. And there are 3 radio files, one for each of the radios. And I'm struggling time-wise to try and get the graphing done. So I'm going to probably get it started where I have the graph program itself work. I'm going to give it to Kung to do the file handling. He's made it simple for me, but I'm just flat out of time, flat out of bandwidth on this. I'm struggling to trying to get all the grapes going, and I can't be fooling around with software. So Kung, it's coming at you soon once I get the offsets right in the program. So this is working nicely. As far as distribution goes, node 1 is running at my house. Node 2 is currently in Florida with Bill.
Yeah, it's running.
Node 3 is in Scranton with Kung. And node 4 is up on the roof in the building here at Case Western. So 4 down, 27 to go. I think I have a total of, well, I have a total of 31 working board sets. The final integration has to be done yet. The first when I powered up the Raspberry Pi was dead, so it's another one of those, really. So anyway, we're making good progress, and once the drives come in, I hope to be ordering drives in mass on Monday for a weekend, after a weekend test of the drives. And we've been doing a lot of tweaking, and at this point I will stop unless Bill wants. I'm going to give it over to Bill. Do you want me to leave the screen up for anything, or you want to take it?
Either way, that's all right. You can leave it up.
Okay.
As John said, I'm running node 2 now. It's running nicely. John shipped me the distro SD card and popped it in, and it worked out of the box. And I'm just running a long-term test on it now. I integrated the Dave Witten's local temperature changes, so we should be seeing that soon. We have a bug in that in addressing the I2C bus for the local temperature monitor sensor. But Dave is, I think, working on that now. So once we get that, I think there's nothing really outstanding other than clean up and getting the file transfer functions working, and the nightly git pull and the cron jobs working to spawn the plotter, the plot functions and so on. So that's it for me. All looks good.
Yeah, the other thing about the file transfer is I'm using the exact same mechanism that I used on Grape 1, and I'm noticing it does the first 2 files, but the 15 megahertz file doesn't seem to make it up. So there's something goofy going on with the script, so we have to debug that yet. But it is doing transfers to the repo, but not completely yet. Especially since once we include the magnetometer file and 3 plot files, there'll be 7 files from every system coming up. So I have to figure that out.
Oh, plus we're gonna transfer the data controller log file too. I'm working on that. So
okay. And we want to keep an eye on that for a while.
Yeah,
Like I say, this should have been running like back in January, but as you can obviously tell, we're flat against the wall here, so too much, too little time, but that's always the case. Anyway, Kung, do you want to share your screen or you want me to leave this up?
Currently, oh, yeah, leaving this up is fine.
Okay.
So I'm currently working on updating this to the next version, like you mentioned earlier. Just I'm running into an issue right now, so it'll be great getting help later. But yes, this is coming together. There's just a few bugs that I got to iron out. Like John and Bill found out last week that Control X sometimes text you gotta press it twice to terminate the data controller. So I gotta handle that. And besides this, I was doing some experiments with digital RF, and I think I'm getting real close to having a version that is compatible with Bill Engelke's server. Now the only part I'm missing is writing the metadata, which I think I have an idea of what to do. It's just a matter of time now. Yeah, that's pretty much for me. Back to net. Back to John.
Okay, I think that pretty much sums it up. Like I say, I haven't even had a chance to start my presentation for the ham site conference yet, so it may be very short for me because, like I say, this is taking priority and has pretty much consumed what I've been doing. So we have to get these things out. When the drives come in and I start finalizing the distro and start cranking out units, we need to figure out who's taking charge of shipping these things, because I certainly can't. I've got a box size, I've got a weight. That's pretty much all ready to go. It takes a little bubble wrap. We're going to be shipping them with linear power supplies so everybody doesn't scream at me. And they can run off of a 12-volt battery system if you want. The input voltage range is like from 10 to somewhere in the 30-volt range, 25, 24. I'm going to call it 24 volts because it's a switch mode power supply and it's running at 1.2 megahertz. Anyway, it's one of the silent switchers, which is a dual phase switch mode supply that is really quiet, that Linear Tech came out and then was obviously bought by Analog Devices, but it works really well. Like I say, the noise floor on the radios is exceptional. And at this point, I would say I'm going to throw it back to Net. I don't think I have anything else to add.
Okay. We'll say on your Hamsa presentation, if you don't get it done, but you get this done, you can just put it on a table in the center of the room. We could just applaud it for 15 minutes. That works fine for me.
Yeah.
Oh, John, excuse me, you said that you were concerned about saturation. Do you have a number we can look for the volts peak where we're getting close to saturation?
We just fixed that bug. Nothing better than showing what's going on here. Okay, if you look here, let's see.
I know.
Do that. The saturation level for the signal level is 2 volts. So right now I'm running 14 millivolts, 32 millivolts, and 129. Now I had to restart this. And if you see down here, if you hit Control P, it toggles the min-max from a 1 hour to a 24 hour. So if you run this for 24 hours, you can see what your V peak is on all 3 channels, and it needs to be at 2 or less. So that will tell you where to set your RF gain. Because when I had this running overnight, 24-hour peak, like I had 5 megahertz on this particular grape was 1.22 volts. So that's fine. It's under 2. But we've recalibrated it. I did figure out FL Digi is actually calculating an RMS number. I ended up plotting it out and doing a 100 millivolt step on the input voltage, all from 0.1 volts to 2 volts on the input to the A to D. Plotted it, and it came out exactly at the
0.707 volts for one volt.
yeah, it's 0.70 square root of 2 over 2, so which is exactly the RMS number. So we multiply by square root of 2 to get the V peak, but we're saving the file data the same as we did in Grape 1, which is the RMS voltage.
Right.
So to answer your question, Jim, what you will be looking for is a V peak of 2 or less. For the
Okay, that works.
Like I say, I'm still wrestling with, I'm not going to be sending them out with a default gain of 10. It's either going to be 2.5 or 4. I may set it to 2.5, although the one that's going to Colorado, since he's so doggone close, I'll probably set his to 1. And then, and also the procedures to set this up and all the documentation does not exist yet because I haven't written it because I've been kind of busy getting stuff done. So like I say, I'm not where I want to be time-wise, but we will get these out. Hopefully in the next 2 weeks, we should be able to ship them all. That's probably an aggressive schedule, but we need to coordinate with whoever's shipping it to come and get these things and put them in the right box, bubble wrap them correctly. I will be doing the final system tests. I've got that pretty much figured out once the drives start coming in. So looking good. So does that answer your question, Jim?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Back to Ned.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. I did want to ask about shipping. Is that going out next week or the week after?
Well, I don't have hard drives in place yet, so I can't ship without hard drives or solid state, I should say. So as soon as those come in and I start rolling through the final checkout and making the systems available, I will work with whoever is doing the shipping to get them to them so they can box them and get them shipped.
Because if you're shipping from Case, I can help with that. I was just planning on going home for a little bit break. So
Okay, yeah, because next week is spring break. That's right. I get a free week from students. Woohoo! Oh, I did say that. Let's see. Yeah, we'll have to find a standard box because I've measured it out and it's not a standard. Well, it could be well, we'll need to work that out. That's not appropriate for now to talk about that, but I know what size is needed. I know what used. I know what works. The nice thing is we're not shipping a rotating drive, so we don't have to worry about dropping it. Solid state drives don't care. So I think we're going to be in really good shape.
Are you still planning on having like 3 that'll go out before the rest of them to Sean, Philip, and Dan?
Well, they will be the first ones that are shipped to. Yes. But we do have 4 active nodes going already that were sort of the alpha test. They will be beta test.
Got it. Okay, good. Yeah, since most of them are on this call, I'm glad they got to hear that.
Yeah, they are #1 priority for shipping. Feedback is encouraged and begged for. I need all the help I can get. I've been running flat out for too long and I'm starting to make stupid mistakes. So Bill's and Kung have been helping a lot and we're getting through this. But again, many thanks. I better mention names here to Dave Hinnerman, Dave Schwartz, Matthew Wishiel, Ken Milnes, and Bill Engelkey. They're the ones that shipped a bunch of boxes and they're the ones that got me through getting all 31 grapes put in boxes. So many thanks to them. It was a big help. And their timely shipments. In fact, I was just running out of boxes and another one show up. And the last one, the Bill Engelkey had sent me out that morning. I just ran out and the box was put on my desk. It's like perfect timing, Bill. So everything's in boxes. And like I say, the final system checkout and the SD card writes, and then setting up the Leo Bodnar, which is really easy to do, and setting up the hard drive because you have to tell the operating system that that particular hard drive is getting mounted into a directory. Anyway, all that stuff will be ready to go. And
Okay.
back to that.
I did miss some of the names. If you could add them to the
Yeah.
appreciate it.
I will try and get that set up here.
Cool.
Hey, John, this is Dave in
Hi,
Colorado. I have
Yes.
a question.
Yes.
So each of the grapes is gonna produce 3 different files every day?
Actually, it'll be 3 files that the Grape 1 produced, and the 3 plot files that the Grape 1 produced. And if you have a magnetometer, that'll be the 7th file with so 1 day's magnetometer readings with 86,400 readings in it. And
So,
the Grape 2 does give you a full 86,400 samples per day.
right, no dropouts, right?
Well, on
Yeah.
the issue, we did figure out what was going on with that. The buffer size for FLDigi is 8192 bytes. The sample rate from the A to D is 8,000. So every second it has to grab 192 bytes from the next file. So as that shifts over, if you do the math, every 42.67 seconds, the 192 consumes a second, which is why you skip a second in FLDigi 1. And it works out to 2,005 samples per day.
Yeah, so the question I have, I guess, is I thought you mentioned this is gonna go to the current WWV repository. Is that right? We're not moving it to
Yep, they're
Huntsville?
coming up now.
I'm sorry, say that again?
They are already coming at you.
And so as soon as we put these units on, we're gonna get hit with 20 times 7. Is that right? Additional files per day? I'm trying to anticipate what's this gonna do to the FTP
31
server?
31 times, well, not everybody's going to have a magnetometer, so it's roughly going to be 31 times 6.
But this is a massive increase in the data that we're
Yeah,
collecting.
we need to address that. So
Yes, we do. So we could take that offline, but we
Yeah.
do need to look into the details because I think that could be an issue.
and that might be why I'm missing is skipping files on uploads, because I'm trying to upload just 3 now per system, and the third one isn't seeming to make it. So I don't know if it's time.
Are you staggering? Are you planning to stagger all these uploads again like you did with the original?
Definitely.
Okay.
In fact, I'm probably going to move them out beyond the 2-hour point and start there so they don't interfere with Grape 1s at all.
Are you compressing those files or are they plain text files?
They are
Okay.
CSV files.
Okay, if you do compress them with anything, bzip, zip, whatever, you will save like 90%. CSV files compress really, really well.
Understand. We will see if we can get that into the deployment, but right now the main goal is to get these things working with the functioning system. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. I think a cron tab job could do that very nicely.
Yeah,
but-
I'm not sure.
I just had to remind you of that in case you are worried about the extra space. They do compress really well.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
just
like
worried about the
9%.
file. I'm worried about the file management in FTP because it can sometimes get weird when you suddenly have, huge numbers of files in a directory. So,
Yeah, and there's a
Okay.
lot in there now. So this is something we need to take offline and address because it will cause problems. It's a lot
yeah.
more.
I'd be glad to address that in the next couple of weeks. So, John, you know how to get a hold of me. So,
One idea to solve that, Dave, might be to zip the whole transfer directory to gzip it. So there's 1 file rather than 7 per node. We can talk about that, John.
Okay. Yeah,
well,
because
certainly the advantage right now is you can look at the files individually. It's nice. So,
Right.
right. Which is a huge advantage because I have done that and have pulled individual files down.
Yep.
Maybe it's time to start thinking about another more permanent repo solution.
well, our solution that we offered was always temporary.
Yeah,
For the last 3 or 4 years.
The University of Alabama is the official permanent solution.
Yeah, but I don't know how we're doing it, transfers and everything, but we'll figure this out.
That's all set up for digital RF. Unfortunately, it will not handle anything that I'm creating. At least it wasn't addressed, at least that I know of, but we'll have to work with Bill on that, see if we can get these up there. Because we can change it to his if we can get it to work. But again, it's another thing we have to fix and get working before we start pushing these things out.
We can talk about that offline, but in terms of the permanent solution, Bill's is the official one that's written into the grant.
Back to net.
Okay. I think there were a few more questions on Grape 1 stuff. This I might move to website updates. So this, because that's really that we can discuss after deployment. There was a question on magnetizers.
Yeah, I think that's been answered. Dave Whitten and I had a good discussion Monday evening. So John, well, whoever's doing the shipping, so far we've got 2 people that have asked for magnetometer boards with their Grape 2. So
Okay.
we're good there, I think.
Make the people aware that they are available, but there is some lifting that they're going to have to do to make the tube. In fact, I don't have the picture. I got a picture of what the tube looks like, and me putting mine. I had to change mine out to the new one because the old Scotty one is at the wrong address. And
They're
this
good
week,
with the construction. The PVC construction they're good with. So
yeah, that's pretty straightforward if you're handy with your PVC pipe. We did finally confirm that the magnetometer board that Scotty had released, the Rev E, will not work, even if you change the address options on the jumpers, because it makes the 2 temperature sensors at the same address and they conflict. So any of the Scotty boards will not work. There's an address conflict and there's no way around it unless you want to start lifting pins on the board, which is an absolute nightmare. I wouldn't recommend that to anybody unless they have really good tolerance for high blood pressure.
Scotty didn't give the option to change the address?
He did, but he tied it in such that when you change the remote address to be where it should be, the local address is clobbering it. They both end up at 18 and instead of 18 and 19.
Oh dear.
Yeah, he tied the A0 onto the adjustable line on the remote board to the temperature sensor, which he should not have done. And that's the problem. Because I sent the schematics out, and if you look at it, you can see A0 and A1 you can jumper select them, but it messes up the magnetometer, or I'm sorry, the 9808 temperature sensor address. So sadly, we can't use them. But the good thing is I have 20 of them that I got from Dave Whitten, which he donated to the cause, by the way. I tried to pay for him and he wouldn't accept money for him, but I did buy the modules. So I have the modules for that. And I bought the sockets, which were the expensive part because they're like $8 a piece. And I will have to assemble those and have them ready, but I'll probably make like 5 up real quick, test them out, have them ready to go for people who want them. But again, I think it'll be up to Gary to let people know or ask them if they want a magnetometer board with it. So
yeah, I'm not promoting it because I fear we got our hands full, but if somebody asks, I'm telling them what's involved, and so that's why we've gotten 2.
yeah, it's a weekend job to do it, to make the fix, put it in there and get it put into the tube correctly and make the cables, and the connector is not trivial. It's a double way RJ45 that's waterproof, and putting that on the T and the cap and some work there. It's not for the faint of heart. But it's definitely for somebody. If somebody's handy with doing that kind of stuff, it's not a big deal. It's just time.
Now you say you preferred for those of us who currently run magnetometers standalone, keep running that.
I would say you keep doing what you're doing, whatever's going on with X.
Okay.
I am not sending the data to a different database other than the WWV ARC database, so. But the
Yeah,
file.
if you send one to me, put me down for a magnetometer.
Okay, Dave, I got you.
Thanks. I've got some of the older magnetometers, but sounds like once
The
a new
RX
one.
3100, you just unplug it and plug it into a new board. So you don't lose that. It's just the interface board is wrong.
Exactly. Yeah, I've got a very old Dave Whitten and I've got one of the Scotties.
Yeah. You
Gary-
moved that thing 3 times. I didn't understand what he was up to, but
Gary, if I end up with 2 Grape 2 sites, I would like a second magnetometer as well. But we were gonna discuss that with John, so we can take that offline.
Yeah, obviously you and John been coordinating everything to this point, so you might as well keep doing that. That's fine.
I guess the big thing we need to make a quick decision on is who's doing the shipping.
I suggest letting Rachel work on us to figure that out, and we'll keep moving today, because that's not that huge of a task.
Yeah, because we have to buy 30 boxes and some bubble wrap. So
Yeah, worst case scenario, I can probably handle it and have
Okay.
a show.
that would be actually convenient because then I can keep feeding them to you as I get them finished.
Yes.
That would work out well. You know where I live.
Yeah.
And to ask the question again for Bill Blackwell, he right now is in Florida, which I think is one of the preferential hop sites for looking at the eclipse path. Is that not correct? Gary?
Yeah, I mean, Florida's a good location, that's for sure.
Because he was questioning whether he should pack up his new Grape 2 and bring it back with him to Massachusetts. Or Virginia, Massachusetts, Harvard, Massachusetts, is that right?
Yeah. So I'm planning on bringing it back north in March when I come to the Hamside workshop, and then back over to Boston. But I could leave it here instead, but would like to have it up there for debugging software problems if they, and support. So I was just, yeah, I don't know.
I should be able to give you one at the Hamside thing here.
Oh, okay.
Ship anything. Unless
Yeah, I've got two other locations in Florida, EM 70 and EL 89, so we've got the state reasonably well covered.
Oh, okay. So
So
they're grade 2 sites or grade 1?
Grape 2.
Okay,
okay,
good.
so there's no need for Bill to keep his there then?
I don't believe so,
Okay.
since we've got the other 2.
Okay. All right, good,
So-
thanks. I'll bring it north then.
Can I also then mark the magnetometer integration as done?
I agree.
Just one small bug left to be fixed with the local temperature, but Dave Whitten is working on that.
Yeah,
I hope it's a small bug.
and the local temperature actually measures the temperature of the U-Blox GPS unit, which we're using for tracking temperature changes so we can see how well it tracks, but it's no longer providing the frequency, so kind of a moot point anyway. That's what's going on. It's the inside temperature of the box,
Yeah,
which is good to know. It's about a 7 degrees C rise from what I've seen with the end caps on. And the top box is on there. And the heat sink port for the Raspberry Pi 4 that Majid put in is working fine. The Tavern High Forest staying nice and cool. So everything's coming together very nicely.
Nice. Okay. In which case, do we have any other questions on the Grape 2?
Yeah, I guess I want to push a little harder on if we're making any changes for the FTP site, we need to address that now because we have to get that to work.
Okay. Well, we can also come back to that.
Yeah, because that's probably going to be, we're going to have to get Bill Engelke involved in that because I think he set up his nodes only for digital RF, and I don't think he can accept the FTP stuff that I'm sending.
John, so John, I have a couple questions on this. Ultimately, we need to get the raw data back.
Correct.
What I'm hoping, and I don't know if this is feasible, Kung says he's very close to getting the digital RF uploader working with Bill Engelke's server. And so I would like to see, if possible, an image with that go out and be running before the eclipse.
We do not know if we have the CPU horsepower to run it.
Isn't Kung testing that?
Or right now to just the data collection process. The other cores seem to be handling it, but we have seen hiccups with the data transfer on the disk system at the loading we're presenting with it now. And to put digital RF in at this stage, the late stage of the game, I think is extremely risky.
But isn't Kung testing it right now?
Not that I don't know.
Kung, have you been testing this?
Yeah, I did mention that there's a way to benchmark the performance. We do want to go that route. There's a way to benchmark and determine if it is possible or not.
Because if we can do this safely, that's really the data we need. The FL Digi data really is not the final data product. And we really have to, we really need the digital RF data. And I'm worried that if we don't have that in place, what we're going to have to do is, I'm not sure how, but it's going to be much harder getting it if we don't have that data flow.
Actually, the way I've set it up, there is a GitHub repository for all the executables that every Grape 2 updates itself every night from.
Okay.
And I've also got cron type jobs in there that can be modified that are in that same directory. So we have access to doing a lot of stuff automatically. I'm going to push back pretty hard about trying to add digital RF at this late stage of the game because we don't know the consequences. That has to run for at least 2 to 3 weeks to be confident it's not going to screw things up. And we simply don't have that time right now.
Well, I'd like to push back a little bit too, because Kung has been working on this, and I do think that it is feasible. So I would at least like to see Kung continue the development and continue to test it.
We agreed a month ago that we would not do this.
No,
So,
we agreed that we would
we agreed we would not be doing digital RF before April 8th.
I disagree with that. I said I agreed that if it came to it, this would be an acceptable, it would be acceptable to not do it if it absolutely had to be.
On this, Nathaniel, and so not appreciated.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I might interject here. I think Kung is probably the person who's most able to speak about his own time commitments. Because I feel like at the moment, whatever he's doing that prioritizes deployment is probably the most important thing. But if he has additional time on top of that, then he can work on it.
Rachel, why don't we have this discussion with John, Kung, and myself offline?
Okay. In which case, oh, wrong spot. I will change this. Oh, I guess it is the right spot, never mind. Okay. Is there anything else anybody wants to talk about? If not, we will circle back and talk about Grape 1 redeployment. Since that has come up recently.
Yeah, the reason I brought that up in the past is we've got, looks like 3 current Grape 1 DRF hosts. We'll be getting Grape 2s, and we'll want to move those Grape 1 DRFs off over to new hosts. So I just want to make sure when we do that, the new hosts don't get it, plug it in and start uploading with the wrong coordinates, the wrong node numbers and that sort of thing. So I think there's some cleanup has to be done with those Grape 1 DRFs by somebody, perhaps the new host or the outgoing host, I don't know, before they're ready to go.
And we need to get Bill in on this because that amount of data is going to be significant. I don't know if he, because I know he can't handle all the raw data. And the digital RF is adding 30 nodes to his system might cause problems. I don't know. That's a Bill Engelke question. I can't answer. I cannot talk for him.
Okay,
this
well,
is-
right now, I'm just speaking about 3 Grape 1 DRFs, that's all, so.
Yeah, so some of the Grape 2 hosts who were Grape 1 DRFs, so they got the grant-funded Grape 1 DRFs, and they volunteered when they received their Grape 2 to return the Grape DRFs so that we can redistribute them and add more coverage to the network. So I guess where would be the best centralized place to send these back? At the moment, it might be Case. If I'm going to be shipping stuff from
Yeah,
their own.
probably makes sense.
Send these.
You also get a nice discount with FedEx here at Case, so that's probably beneficial.
Yeah. If they send these to you at the Sears lab, then they'll be in the stack of all the things that need to be shipped.
Type Glennon 321.
Yeah, I've got John's address, the one we use for all the plastic cases, and they made it, so. So I will go out and try to find the 3 additional Grape 1 DRF hosts. I'll start working on that then.
Okay.
I don't know if it'll happen before the eclipse, because that's a lot to ask in the next 4 weeks, but
That's fair.
okay, good.
Because at the moment, then we can have just centralized case.
Good, that satisfies my question.
Yes. Okay. Is there anything else anyone would like to talk about? Because if not, I think we do need to stop the call and have an offline discussion if everyone has time for it. If not, we can set up another time.
I think now, yeah, I'd be happy. Maybe I'll send out a new Zoom link and Rachel, John, Kung and I can talk about the data situation.
You should get Bill in on this too.
Bill, yes. Is Bill Engelke online? Bill, which Bill are you talking about, John?
Bill Engelke.
Good question. Okay.
All right. I don't see him online at the moment, but I think we can have an initial discussion just with us.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll just send out a new Zoom link. Thank you very much, everybody.
All right, 73,
Good.
thanks everyone for checking in.
All right. 73, everybody.
73.
I'll
Hey.
see you next.
See you next week.